Good morning and welcome to the Ask Weldon show. Today's topic is, I hate League of Legends, but I can't stop playing. Also, we have a couple of other questions that were called into the show. Is it good to play without a warm-up? How do I reset my focus? And how do I find a serious team to coach? Thank you for joining me today. This is the Ask Weldon show, and I am Weldon, and I'm a sports psychology trainer, and I work in esports psychology. Basically doing esport coaching, League of Legends coaching, and then sports psychology training for different esport teams at the professional level. And you can catch out all of my content here on the YouTube channel, where I do the show mainly to address your questions, which you can call into the show by using the app anchor.fm/Weldon Green. You may notice that that's a little different from a minute ago. Basically, the last few shows we've been experimenting with a Discord call-in feature, but the Anchor app just released this amazing new update, and I love it again. So I'm switching back to Anchor, and yeah, you can check that out in the link down below. Make sure you come into the Discord, by the way, because that's where you can also ask questions. If you want to type them out instead of call them in, just go to the Ask Weldon channel in the Discord. And of course, you can always use Twitter. Hashtag AskWeldon. I have a scraper that picks them up, and I check before every show to see if there's any Twitter questions. But audio first. If you call in the show, audio gets on the show. Discord second. I'm working through those. Twitter is third. So make sure you join the community if you want in. Any updates? Yes. TSM just 2-0'd this weekend, and it has been revealed. I was working with them last week, so I can no longer do VOD reviews anymore of the TSM games. I have a policy of not doing VOD reviews with the teams I'm working with, so that's out. I might review the Optic or Echo Fox side of the TSM games because I want to review Optic and Echo Fox now for the rest of the split. And I don't think I have many other updates other than it's cold here, and I'm going to the gym after this as usual. So make sure, if you want to follow me along there, catch that on my Snapchat and my Instagram. I will try to endeavor to post more regularly on those stories. I used to keep up an identical story on both of them every single day that was super hype. And then Snapchat pushed out their update and like massacred my my organic reach. So basically my show went from 2,000 to 300 viewers. And same in Instagram. Yeah, Instagram just, I don't know, it's not that interesting an app for me, but I like it. I just don't like it as much as Snapchat, but I use it, and I put the story out there. It's just I have a smaller following. So, but I promise, I will get back on that for those 300 of you that were there and that were paying attention and that missed my show. I'll be back today. Okay. So apologies for that, but oh my gosh, Snapchat, why? That's so mean. You're so mean. How could it go from 2,000 to 300 just because they update? Did people stop using Snapchat, or they just literally can't even find my story now? That's actually what it is. They literally cannot even find my story. It used to be at the top of their feed every day, and now it's just gone. So, screw you, Snapchat. They did this update for creators. Turns out it's only for big creators. Screws all the small ones, like me. So, all right. Should we jump into the show? Question number 1. Here it is, guys. I'm like trying to get in here. Okay. I hate League of Legends, but I can't seem to stop coming back. If I can't quit, but I hate the game, how should I approach this problem? I've narrowed down that my goal is to climb, but I'm clearly too upset to soak in any new information and improve. Okay. Yeah, so I took the question because it is a question about addiction. This is exactly what it sounds like to be an addict. You hate the game and you don't want to play the game, but you end up playing it. So, somebody 480, this is for you. We're going to work on kicking the addiction, okay? So, how do you know when you have an addiction versus like you were just training? For example, I have worked. I haven't worked. I have had a colleague. I've worked with a colleague. And this colleague was saying, oh, I was working with this guy, and I thought that he was going to be video game addicted, and his parents did, but then it turns out he's just really into esport, and he was training, right? He had volitional control over it, and he could quit at any time. So he wasn't addicted to League of Legends. He wasn't addicted to video games. I think it was CSGO, actually. But he was just playing a lot. because he was trying to get good. So there is this crux nowadays where you have esport, where you can actually train the game as a sport and really aim to kind of improve and aim to get into it. And then you can also continue to be addicted, which is a different behavior, okay? So this is a separate problem. And essentially what you're doing every single time you log into the game is you're punching your adrenaline gland, and you're like all the little like hormones and joy and serotonin and satisfaction that you get in your brain. You're just like, you're kind of like getting them from League of Legends instead of from life, okay? And you have to desensitize yourself to that. It's like the world is in black and white and League of Legends is in color for your brain right now. And so you have to go in there to get that kick, to get those feelings, to feel something like hate. You have to go into the game, all right? And in order to kick that, I need you to focus on the world again. I need you to focus on experience again. So first of all, make a rule. Just be like, done, okay? Just do not play League of Legends. Again, you're not allowed, somebody 40, to play League of Legends for a month. Minimum a month. You can make up your own timeline. You can say, I'm just done. You can say 6 months. But I want you to do it for a month, and I want you to feel this, okay? Because it could be that you kick the addiction if you do it right, and you can go back in. Because we're not talking about a chemical substance here. We're not talking about nicotine, right? You can choose to be healthy with League of Legends if you do it correctly, if you train your mind. And so you can actually play without addiction. It's not like smoking, but give yourself time, okay? So give yourself that cushion. Give yourself a month off, minimum. Set your clock, set your calendar, whatever it is. All right. We need to get the world back in living color for you in terms of an experiential place. Okay, so you have to get good at focusing on experience. The very first thing I want you to do is gratefulness conditioning. Okay, now if you watch my show regularly, you're going to be like, this is something he brings up a lot. That's because this is the fundamental, right? It's like if somebody runs a basketball show, and people call in and they're like, how do I get good basketball? And he's like, well, you got to learn to dribble, and then you got to learn to shoot. And then somebody calls in like, how do I get good at basketball? Well, you got to learn to dribble, and then you got to learn to shoot, right? And how do you learn to dribble? Well, you dribble back and forth, okay? You do the drill. You do the basics, okay? So here's the basics, gratefulness conditioning. And by the way, if you're watching this live, you can check this out on Twitch. My show is broadcasted every single day, 4:30 a.m. Helsinki time. Twitch.tv/mindgamesweldon. You will also hear this, before and after the show. We talk about more details of like how this works out. So you can get more details there if you join Twitch chat. Obviously, I ignore them when I'm filming for you, YouTube, and they're probably freaking out right now. But hey, guys, I'll be back, and I will catch up on Twitch chat right after the show. So back into the gratefulness conditioning now. Essentially, what you do, and this is something that is done from the U.S. military all the way to musicians in training. You have to think of 3 things that you're grateful for, and I want you to list them, and I want you to say them out loud or write them down, and then I want them to be real, right? I want you to appreciate them, and I don't want you to get like really hyperbolic and huge and things like, I'm so glad that I'm born on Earth, and I'm so glad that I'm a human and not a monkey, or like a rock, or things like that. Okay, I want you to get very, 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 very local. So like, what happened in the last hour? Limit yourself to an hour. What happened in the last 10 minutes that you're grateful for? And you'll be like, what do you mean? But there's an insane amount of stuff that you could think of that you're grateful for in the last 10 minutes. It's just that your brain is conditioned to ignoring it because we get used to it. It's like those first world problems, right? It's a meme. It's a joke because we have so many things going for us, and we focus on these trivial problems. When all the other things in our life could be problems, but they aren't. Like, my battery dies. First world problem. Right, because I actually have a $250 camera here, Like, I'm so grateful that I have this camera that has this image quality, that my hand is out of focus, my face is in focus, the background's out of focus. That's crazy that I can even afford that, much less use it, much less wire it up to my computer, much less have electricity running through my house right now. The fact that I was able to wake up at 4 a.m., the fact that I was able to go to sleep on time last night, the fact that, I have this crazy cool mic. I don't know. There's just so many things that you could be grateful for every single second of your life that just pass your mind right by. And you have to clue into that. And the way that you clue into that is you condition yourself day by day by day to be grateful for at least 3 things in the last hour. So work on that. Number 2, I want you to pay attention to experience. Okay, I want you to just check out. Next time you're walking somewhere, I want you. Here's a really good thing, because you're probably not walking somewhere, somebody 480, and other people who are addicted to League or just want to get themselves out of League of Legends as a stimulus, as a reliance. Okay, find someplace to walk to. Okay, walk to the park, walk to the store, and buy a jar of milk and drink it on the way back. Walk to a friend's house. Just find somewhere to walk to. Okay, and instead of driving, and instead of listening to music or doing anything on this walk or having your phone out and surfing Reddit, I want you to look, feel, and listen. I want you to listen. I want you to have your head up, and I want you to look around, and I want you to feel your feet consistently treading on the pavement over and over and over again. I want you to feel the weight of your body on the bottom of your feet. I want you to feel your muscles moving your legs forward. I want you to have your eyes up and out. I want you to be seeing not just the thing you're focusing on, but the entire environment around. And I want you to be listening. And I just want you to pay attention. Pay attention to everything in your life. We call this walking mindfulness. I have a script on it in my program, which, by the way, is right here. And you can use the code AskWeldon down below for a discount. Just to throw that out there because it's popping up. And in this moment, you're going to be reconnecting with just like your body experiencing the world. And that is the most important part, okay? Is that you are essentially paying attention to what is happening to you sensually. And I say sensually, and people think, aha, he means sexually. No, I mean sensually, from your senses. We talk about sensually in terms of the senses during sex, right? But in reality, sensual is a term to describe what you should be feeling when you're walking down the street. Like, you should be able to be almost orgasmic on your senses just by existing without needing to kind of go into League of Legends or the bedroom in that case to get this kind of stuff. So pay attention to what your skin and your ears and your eyes are telling you as you're doing this walk. Okay? Then I want you to go ahead and do that in a conversation with somebody. Sometime today, I want you to call up a friend, and I want you to just literally pay attention to everything they say. Be engaged in the conversation. Be aware of that moment. Okay? Experience it and then appreciate it. Same with eating. I want you to at least once today. So there's 3 things: a walk, a conversation with a friend or a family member, and a meal. And the meal, I want you to eat it, right? Do not pull out your phone. Don't talk with somebody else. Take your meal, go somewhere, look at it, taste it, feel it in your mouth, on your tongue, experience eating it mindfully and be aware of it and reconnect with that experience. Bring your life back into living color and let the game drain itself away as you do this. And I want you to try to do this at least 7 days in a row. I want you to do the walk, the call, and the meal. After that, you can start pushing on. You can start doing mindfulness yourself, like with my program that I was advertising before. You can just do one of those. But you're going to have kickstarted the ability to do this, right? So that's the important part. You're going to find yourself doing it everywhere and anywhere that you can because it feels so good. And because you don't have League of Legends to kind of cope with it, right? So that is the step. Those are the 2 steps I want you to take. Gratefulness conditioning, give yourself a break, gratefulness conditioning, and then this experience of life aspect, okay? All right, great first question to kick off the show. We're going to dive into question number, gotta make that one go away. We're gonna dive into an audio question, so let's hear what Joey has to say.
Hey, Weldon. My question is it smart to train or to play in general if you're not performing or if you're not capable of performing at 100%? Because I'm the type of player who needs an extensive warm-up to actually perform at 100%. I need to eat, do some sports, and be awake in general for some hours. But sometimes I find myself having enough time to play before all that. So is it smart to actually play or train even if you are not capable of performing at 100%?
Okay. Thank you, Joey, for that question. So this depends on your goals, 100% on your goals. If your goal is to rank up and to win, and you are doing a competitive, endeavor, then it's always a good idea to warm up for a video game, and to not play if you can't focus 100%. Because remember, perfect practice makes perfect. It's not that practice makes perfect; it's that perfect practice makes perfect. So if your goal and your ambition is to essentially train yourself into, a super athlete, then you should always put off the game until you can focus on it and learn the most. And this is not true if you're a pro, and this is not true if you have lots of free time, okay? If you have tons of free time and you can spam 8 to 12 games a day minimum, then sure, play a game or 2 or 3 and just like, you might not be warmed up, you might not be focused, and you might get a few things out of them. But then later you're going to do some really serious training, like some scrimmages or something, and you're going to get really high quality intense training. So this is not true if you have an entire free weekend, right? And you're just going to spam the game. But if you only have a couple games to play, like you're going to play 2 games later at full focus, and you're just going to throw one out in the morning, I would recommend just skipping it. Just don't do it. Like spend the time doing something else more useful for your life, like push-ups or studying a VOD or making a list or reviewing your game from yesterday or making a list of things that you want to do, right? Because I want the games after your warm-up to be the main experience you have in terms of learning for that day, and to override everything else, including any game you might play in the morning. And they can't do that if there's only 2 of them, right? If you're just playing 2 games later and 1 game in the morning, it's going to have an unfortunately large representation in terms of experience with League of Legends that day in your brain. So I would recommend skipping it, to be honest. Now, if you're grinding to pro, the thing I would recommend trying to do, though, is try to get better at playing without a warm-up. Like, you shouldn't need such an extensive warm-up to play. You should be able to be engaged fully in the game at any moment. So then there is a value to going in and testing yourself and being like, can I just get at it full on without some crazy long warm-up? So that is a question worthy of being answered. And there's various ways of tackling that. One is through rituals, like replace your warm-up with a sort of ritual and a certain kind of meal. One is to use caffeine or some sort of other drug or chemical to like make yourself more focused temporarily. Maybe you need carbohydrates, and that's the main issue. Maybe you just need to go out for like a 10-minute walk and just get your blood flowing up to your brain. Maybe you need to meditate or something to kick it off. But find ways of seeing like, what is it really that I need warmed up? Is it just that I need blood sugar? Is it that I need focus? Is it that I just need water, like a glass of water? Is it that I need to get my blood flowing? Like find out if you can make yourself perform without the necessity of such a crazy long warm up. Okay, those are my suggestions. Let's dive into question number 3. All right. I have an issue where I go through periods which can last up to a few weeks, where I can't seem to keep myself from dying in-game over and over. It's like I don't value my life in-game, or I constantly misjudge skirmishes or make risky plays. During these times, it doesn't seem to matter if I play ranked or unranked, or take breaks for a day or 2, or come back. It's the same. How do I reset my focus? Okay. Okay, so before I answer the question that you did present, how do I reset my focus, I want to propose the idea that maybe you're actually just like not as good as you're valuing in your head. Maybe you have an identity in your brain that is like, I am this good at the game, and then the game comes up and it says, no, you are this good, and you're like, no, I'm just having a 2-week period where I'm dying a lot. It's not that I'm bad at the game. So you're having a conflict between your identity, your self-identity, and objective reality, right? 99.9% of the times, this is what a streak is, okay? So you're saying, like, I have these streaks where I'm not playing as good as I like. And I'm saying, you're actually playing as good as you're capable of, you just don't like it. Does that make sense? And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, because this is probably bad news for you. Because you're like, no, I am that good. I'm not playing as good as I like. And I'm saying, no, you're not playing good and you don't like it. So the reality here is that what you need to do is you need to become really good at acceptance. You need to be like I'm serious now. I work on this with pro players. Okay, they die and they're like, dang it, I messed up. And I'm like, no, this is your skill level. Accept it. Open your eyes. You died there because you weren't good enough to not die there. You didn't make a mistake. You made a U. If you don't want to do that, make yourself better so that that doesn't happen. And then that's called skill. Okay? It's not a mistake if it's you doing it in a performance setting, in a game that requires skill to not accomplish. Okay? A mistake is a skill, right? Not doing a mistake is called being better than making the mistake. So the first thing you have to do is you have to accept it. You have to accept it. You have to accept, like, you are what you do in performance settings. Like if you're doing curling at the Olympics and you suck at curling and you do sucky things, you're like, I am this. This is me. You misjudge the skirmish, you're like, I am misjudging the skirmish because I am the player who will misjudge the skirmish because this is the limit of my skill level right now. Once you get to that place mentally, then you can escape it easily through training, through being like, okay, given that I am this good and this is my skill level, then I want to be better and this is how I train, okay? And it's not a bad thing. Like, it feels so painful to go from, like, let's say you're at a 6 right now on the scale of 1 to 10, you know, and you're like, no, I don't want to be a 5. What's the difference? You're not a 10, right? So just be like, okay, well, I'm not as good as I expected. That's human nature because everybody wants to think of themselves as a superhero. Especially with guys, when we see our heroes, we identify with them, like, more so. You ever, like, watch a superhero movie and then go look in the mirror and you're like, what happened? Right? So this is funny because that kind of joke is based a little bit on research. There's this really funny research that I was presented in 2013, which was about how boys versus girls perceive play with dolls, and it was that girls more often see deficits in comparison to their doll compared with their self, and boys more often steal attributes and assimilate them to themselves when they in fact do not have them. That they want to play with superheroes who are stronger than them because it makes them feel strong in their self-identity, even if they're not. Whereas girls, when they're playing with more realistic, lifelike dolls, are much less anxious than when they're playing with dolls that have features that they themselves do not have. They don't aspire to have them. They are fraught with a little bit of distress that they do not have them, which I thought was interesting. And these were findings on, like, groups of, I think, 12, like less than 12 children. So I mean, we're not talking about maybe like significant natural findings of gender differences here, but we are talking about a small study on doll play and a little qualitative finding about how it is that people might process these differently. And certainly there are probably plenty of men who do the opposite and women who do the opposite, right? But this is a qualitative difference in it was a girl, her study. So I thought that was fun. Yeah, so what you have here is an acceptance and identity issue. And by the way, acceptance is the middle step in this program for that exact reason. Like, acceptance is a key part of self-improvement. And you have to be good at two skills. First, accepting it. And to be honest, it's not that hard. Like, our conflict is with reality, is with objective reality. And you have this identity, this castle, this imaginary thing that you build up in your head of, like, what it is that you are, the self-awareness and self-identity, and then reality says, no, you're this, or no, you're this, or no, you aren't actually as good a friend as you thought, or you aren't actually as good a boyfriend as you thought, or maybe it's you that's the problem here. And then most people are like, no, couldn't be, and you start beating somebody up. Emotionally or physically. This is why people rage in the game. Sad, isn't it? I know. I do it too. It's human nature. All right, so you accept it. Then you have to forgive yourself. That's the hardest step, is being like, it's okay that I'm bad. It's okay that I am a bad boyfriend. It's okay that I'm a bad girlfriend. It's okay that I'm a bad friend. Let me try to be better. accept it, forgive yourself, work. Okay, let's go on to the last question, guys. Before I go on to the last question, I always promote my program because you're here and you want to hear the last question, and I know you're trapped in my video. I know it. So here we go. I developed this program starting in 2013 because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to work with amateur athletes forever. And here it is, a situation where my time is tied up between my family and pro teams, and as I expected, I cannot do a lot of work with volunteer work with amateurs or paid work even. But this is the purpose for which I went into esport, was to work with coaches who coach amateur athletes or amateur athletes themselves, because I firmly believe, that there is a possibility to get life skills and transferable social and emotional skills out of training esport, like as an objective, right? And the way that I found to kind of train that for myself, and the way that I teach to other people, is through this kind of program, basically mindfulness, acceptance, commitment protocol. Acceptance commitment being acceptance commitment therapy from cognitive behavioral psychology, and mindfulness being mindfulness, one of the most powerful sport psychology, I would say, techniques that has been kind of like thrown onto the table in the recent decade, I guess, 2004. So we're still in the second decade of this. So I made this video course. It's 50 videos, so 7 weeks, 7 days. Obviously, you're not going to do it every single day because I don't expect people to have that kind of discipline. And in fact, the program right now is not constructed very well for discipline. It's just the videos thrown up on a website. And that's why I'm remaking the program, version 4. This will be the 4th iteration of it. I'm remaking it as a more integrated experience, as a more app-like experience, so that there's more components of motivation and discipline built into it that will allow you to stay without attrition in the program and try to complete it. And so I'm currently using all of the money that I make from it to basically fund that. And so you can purchase if you want. You get grandfathered into the new one. I'm going to stop sales before the new one is released. And we're going to switch over to a new pricing model, because for the first time I'll have a real product. Like, not just content, but content and technology combined. But right now, use the code AskWeldon to get it for its original price, which it has been for the last few years. Not really true when I launched it. It was integrated with me, and like I did live coaching in it, and it was more like $300, but now it's down to $25. And everybody who's in it and has ever purchased it is still in it, and you get grandfathered in forever up until the release of version 4, in which case that will stop. So just an FYI there. Okay, final question. I have been thinking of becoming a coach for a team on and off for the last couple of years. I'm thinking about it more seriously now, but I have no clue where to start. Having no context with anybody in the industry and not being a top challenger player, how do I find a first serious team to coach? Okay, so I wouldn't worry too much about finding a serious team to coach. I would just try to start coaching teams, and don't limit yourself to esport. Okay? Now, I don't know from your question whether or not you're coaching traditional sport, but I would say, like, if you're not coaching already in traditional sport, find a YMCA, find a youth club, find kids soccer, find whatever you can and just start coaching. Because coaching of the game, coaches who coach the game are not ever very good. They're limited in the things that they can accomplish. They just kind of like run a couple of people through a couple of drills, and that's as far as they ever get. You coach people. You coach people playing the game, okay? And those are skills that you can apply in any field, whether or not independent of the sport, as long as you know the drills and how they function, and you know a little bit of human physiology. You're focusing on coaching people, especially at the youth level, right? You're not going to coach a pro team, so you're going to be coaching people who need to develop transferable skills and social and emotional skills through their training. And so you want to be coaching them as humans and trying to make the experience of them being on a team something that changes how they live their life, not just improving at the game. So I would start there, and then I would start with one-on-one in terms of skill building, in terms of how it is that you talk to people, in terms of coaching people. So I would go to a website, leaguecoaching.gg, and I would start coaching individuals, and then I would start coaching sports teams where you could find them, especially kids. And then for your first serious team, I would simply advertise on Summoner School or on Reddit, and I would say like, hey, I'm looking to coach a team. This is my repertoire. This is my experience. And if you don't get picked up, try to improve your repertoire and your experience. Coach more on leaguecoaching.gg. Coach more individual players that you pick up from Summoner School and volunteer. Go to the coaching discords. Find students there. Go coach actual teams, right? Like a soccer team for a season. And within a year, you'll have this large repertoire of references that you can and things that you can throw on a PDF. And then a team will be like, hey, we want that guy. Like, he'll give us structure. And come with a plan, by the way, too. At the top of your PDF, at the bottom of your PDF, you have a list of all the people you've coached and all the sports teams you've coached in the last year. And at the top of the PDF, you have your coaching philosophy. You have your plan summed up in 2 paragraphs for what you intend to do with the team to coach them. I believe in this. My style of coaching is this. I believe that everybody blah. I believe that League of Legends is a game where blah. And this is how I intend to coach my team, and this is what you can expect in terms of your outcome. This is my hope for you. And when you present that, people see what they get. They see that you have a background, and they see that you have like a philosophy and a plan, and they're just gonna snap you right up. That's my proposal for you. I hope that it was helpful. Hope I didn't make too many assumptions about your past, but obviously I tried to like go all the way from beginner novice who hasn't done anything at all the way to getting that first serious team to coach. So best of luck with that. All right, guys, that's the show for the day. Thank you so much for coming out. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video all the way. If you are here, then that means that you are truly a fan of what of me and what I am sharing here and trying to do on this channel. So please come back for more. And I'm going to now jump into a VOD review on my Twitch channel. So make sure that you check out the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/mindgamesweldon, for live content and the ability to interact with the chat, who I've been ignoring this whole time, but I'm going to go back to in a second. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming. Check out the Mac program.